to record our session. I do record this, and you will get a follow-up email from me later this evening, and you can pass on the slides that we're in right now. You can pass on the recording. Either of those would be options, but let other people see the cool things that you're doing and the resources that are available to you. Finally, looking through our roster, all 200 of us are from somewhere in Virginia, so we're all in this together supporting our kiddos. All right, so we're going to get started by looking at Google Drive, and I know that when you signed up for this, it said Docs and Slides, and you might be thinking, why am I learning about Drive if I'm in a session about Docs and Slides? And that's because I think it's important that we know where everything is saved and how Drive works. That's foundational to what we're doing. So with that being said, Drive is the cloud, right? And we've heard a lot of people talk about the cloud before, but this is a place where we can put our resources, and it doesn't matter what device we're on, we can access our slides, access our docs, and be able to interact with them. So I can be on a laptop like I am right now. I can be on an Android phone. I can be on an iPhone, an iPad. Your students can be on any of those as well and still have access to their resources as long as they have an internet connection. So that could be through a mobile plan. It could be through their Wi-Fi. Now, this is one of my favorite questions that I like to ask people. So I'm going to stop my share for just a second and invite a brave soul who would like to turn on their camera and unmute to explain the difference between, or to tell me what it means to download something. So who's brave enough to tell me what it means to download and upload something? JK ready, I see you. So if you can, let me make you larger if I can, and go ahead and unmute for us.
All right, so downloading is downloading something from somewhere else onto your device, and uploading is uploading something you have onto something else like a cloud or someone else's device. Is the best way I can explain it.
Thank you. That's awesome. I'm going to go ahead and out myself a little bit about this. I like asking this question because it always leads to some really cool hand motions, okay? So mine is upload is going from here to there, download is going from there to here, and I saw you do a little bit of that as well, but you nailed it. So it is coming, when I upload something from my computer, maybe I have a Word file that's on my computer, I'm moving it from my computer up into the cloud. If I'm trying to get it from Google Drive back onto my computer, I'd be downloading it from the cloud to my device. So I feel like that's an important thing to talk through before we get to Drive itself. All right, so continuing through, we're going to get to Drive now. And there are a couple different ways we can do this. You will need to hit escape on your device, but we can go there by typing in drive.google.com, or if you're in any Google tool, you'll see what I call the waffle menu, those 9 dots. And if you click on that, you should see Drive as one of those options. So let's go ahead and navigate to Drive right now. We'll take a couple moments to do that. All right. So as this is loading for you, I typically like to start with the top left when it comes to any of Google's tools, and we're not going to touch on everything in Drive, just a couple things, and then we'll move on to Docs. The very first thing that we probably our attention's brought to is the New button. And if we want to create something in Drive, that's exactly where we're going to start things off. So I would click on New. And here are the different choices that I have within New. I can create a folder, so if we want to start having some organization and structure, we can do that. We can upload something that's already on our computer. And then we have the options of Docs, Sheets, and Slides. These are kind of the 3 mainstays, but if we come down to where it says More, we get some other really powerful tools like Google Forms, which I'm covering, I think, on Wednesday, or maybe tomorrow, sorry. We also have Drawings, My Map, Sites, which will be on Thursday, and some other tools in here too. So there are a lot of different things that we can build within Google Drive, and they're all stored here. If you're using a school account, which I'm not right now, I'm using a district account, or I'm sorry, a personal account. But if you're using a school one, you have unlimited storage. So you can put as many videos in here, as many cat pictures, as many PDFs, whatever type of file you want, and you're never gonna run out of storage here. All right, so continuing down, we have My Drive. These are files that belong to you. But a cool thing about Google Drive is that we can also share things, and that is one of the biggest functions that we love about Google Drive. And these are if you go down to where it says shared with me, these are things that other people have said, I want you to have access to them. So you can see that I have a lot of different things that are shared with me that I can go back and look at, but they're not something I own. Otherwise, it'd be in My Drive. Now, a real quick thing that I like to encourage people to check out is the recent option. And when we're doing this, I use this all the time to be able to find something that I was recently working on. So this afternoon, I was refreshing the slides for today. So I could just click on recent and be able to find anything that I was looking for. Finally, in here, we have the option to star something. And that basically means I want to be able to get back to it. So I know a lot of teachers might do, here I'm starring a folder for my upcoming unit, or the unit that I'm in right now, so that I can quickly find that resource. I've also worked with teachers who might give a star to, here's how I do grading in Power Teacher, because I don't go to it all the time, but if I go to starred, I can quickly find the resource that I need. Now to star something, if you're in My Drive and you find a file or a folder, you can click on it once, or we'll do a right click on it. And when you do the right click, you'll have the option to add to starred. So very easy way to do it. All right, so now that we've done a very brief overview of Google Drive, the last thing I want to show when we're in Drive though, is at the top, Google makes Google Drive. I know that's probably not a big shock. And when I first started using the search feature in Drive, I'm like, oh, this makes everything so easy. So when we use search, I like to come over to this downward arrow on the right-hand side for search options. And in here, it allows me to filter. So if I know I'm looking for a certain presentation, I can click on that. Maybe I know that my principal is the owner, so I can say specific person and type in their name. And it makes it very easy for me to find everything I need. So I work with some other presenters who might have thousands or hundreds of thousands of files in their Drive, but they don't really use folders because they can use these filters to find exactly what they're looking for. So again, just a real quick overview of Drive, and now we're ready to get into our big part for today, which is looking at Google Docs and slides. So just a real quick thing, if you are back in our slides, I do have a video in here about how to organize and search in Drive. So I know I just referenced that, but slide 8, there is a video that you can go back to in the future. And so now we're ready to get into Docs. And similarly, we have an overview video, but I'm gonna be your guide. This will be a refresher for you in the coming weeks. And I do wanna quickly highlight a resource that I also have available for you. So on slide 10, if you click Getting Started, Google consistently updates their training materials for teachers, and it's pretty robust. And this came out, I started noticing it just last week, the revised version. And so in here, a lot of it is video-based instruction, where you can start with what is a Google Doc, how do I create a doc, how do I share, what are the editing tools, and so forth. And each of these videos is around 30 seconds. It might have some in here that are a minute long. You can download any of them by clicking in the bottom right and download. And then if you keep coming down, they have training materials built by other teachers. So in here, we can see design interactive curricula or optimize workflow, and all of these resources are completely free, and they will keep track of your work as you go. So some really cool options as you look forward. So to me, the big question that we have is, how do we open up a new doc? Since most of us are in Drive right now, we're gonna click the plus new button and then come down to Google Docs. If you're on any other web page than Google Drive, let me show you another way that you can create a new doc. And that's by, in the URL, all you have to do is type docs.new. and it will open up and have a new one for you that way as well. So a very simple way to be able to get there and make one that way as well also. Okay, so I'm in a Google Doc and it is brand new, fresh, nothing in here. The very first thing I would encourage you to do is go to the very top left-hand corner where it says Untitled Document, and we're gonna give this a title. So for me, it's gonna be Live Demo May 18. And the reason I encourage people to do this right off the bat is I've been using Google Docs for 12 years now. That's kind of wild to think about. When I first started, I didn't give things titles. And so very quickly, I accumulated hundreds of untitled documents. I never knew what they were. So now that's the first thing I encourage students or teachers to do. The other thing that we should notice is right next to the title, we have the star. So this is another place that you can favorite it. All right, so now we have this blank Google Doc, right? And what I'd like you to do is write one thing that you're looking forward to when quarantine kind of winds down. So it can be anything school related, not school related, whatever you want it to be. And we're just going to type it. It can even be a fragment, but let's go ahead and write. So mine will be attending concerts with my family and hiking in Shenandoah. So these are two things that I'm really excited about doing, right? So in here, I now have my fragment. And we can start to play with our text a little bit. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to highlight my first word here. And you know, we're trying to go very basic here. So a couple things that we can do. We can do our different headers. That's not too exciting. We have fonts just to the right of that. By default, it's probably Arial. In here, we have a couple hundred different fonts that we can choose from. Now, up at the very top, it used to be at the bottom, but now they make it really prominent, is more fonts. So we can click on this. And in here, we have many, many, many that we can choose from. I like to come in and where it says show all fonts, we have display. So if you're trying to make a poster or put something on a website, it might be display. I have a 7-year-old. We're still working on his handwriting, so we could choose handwritten. And then it's going to come up with all these different fonts that meet that. So I'm going to choose Patrick Hand, okay. And now that becomes an option for me, and I can type with that font too. So I know that we probably have some font fans, so know that there are a lot in here, including the cleverly titled Aberrel Fat Face, so you can use that one too. All right, so as we have our little sentence in here, the next thing I want to show you is in the bottom right-hand corner, and this is a game-changing tool for me, and that's the Explore button. So when we click on Explore, it's going to look through my entire document, which right now is pretty short, right? It's only one fragment, but it could be an entire research paper. I'm in grad school right now. I write some long research papers, and I could use this towards the end when I already have a 15-page paper, and it would be able to do the same function. So in here, if I click on the suggested topic, or I can type in a new topic up here, but for now I'm going to click Shenandoah National Park. It's going to do an entire Google search for me directly in my doc, where I don't have to have multiple tabs open. I can do this first stage of research directly next to where I'm taking notes. So I love this. I love it for a few reasons. One, our students are going to use Google search anyway. When we talk about accessibility, limiting the number of tabs we have to be juggling back and forth is something that definitely assists our students. When I find a resource that I want to use, like Shenandoah National Park, I can click on it, and I'm starting to do my preliminary search in here. So I'm going to close this pop-up, and I'm just going to grab that text. Now I know some people, their red flags are going up that I'm copying and pasting, and you're right, I am, but I'm going to show you why through my workflow, why that may not be a huge issue. So here I'm pasting it in, and to give credit to where this resource came from, I'm coming back to my web results on the right-hand side, and I have these quotation marks, and I'm going to cite it as a footnote. So now, at the very bottom of my page, it has given proper citation. Now I can toggle to different ones. We have MLA, APA, Chicago, a lot of different choices in here. I can also use image search for Shenandoah National Park by going over this next tab. And with this, I'm going to find the picture I want, hit the plus sign, and it's going to add it to my doc. And with this, I like to add pictures that way because it does do a link to where it came from as well. So I do get some understanding of the source attribution as well. All right, so that's a very brief introduction to one of my favorite features of Google Docs. Some other things that we want to check out. We're going to go up to where it says Insert. And in Insert, here are the different types of materials that I can add to a doc. So from here, I can find images. And with image, I can search the web. So National Parks. I can find things that way. Some other things I can do for an image, if I go to Insert Image, I can also do camera. Now this is really powerful when we're doing distance learning because not all of the work that our students are doing needs to take place on a computer. So they could do their work on a piece of paper or make an artifact, use the camera, and that will insert it directly into the doc. Makes it very simple. The next thing we're going to look at is how to add a table. So again, I'm going to Insert Table, and I can select how many rows, how many columns. And now I have my table in here. If you are joining for the HyperDoc and ChoiceBoard option, they both use a lot of tables. So that's going to be a helpful skill to know. We can do charts. We can do footnotes. We can have a little bit of an equation editor, not the best. But the next thing that I want to show you is how to do a link, okay? So for a link, I'm going to highlight the text that I will want to link. I can either go up to, there are a couple ways I can do this. The easiest one for me is once I have it highlighted, I'm going to go to the toolbar at the top and find what looks like a chain. So I'm going to click on that. And this is going to search for the term. It's also going to do a search in all of my Google Docs. But the first option is Shenandoah National Park. I'm going to select that, apply, and so now it's in there. To me, this is really helpful because we've all worked, we've been in sessions, we've taught and had really long URLs or web addresses, and it kind of looks clunky, but by simply using this button, and you'll notice that it also gives you the shortcut for Control-K or Apple Sign K, that you can put a link in that way too. So a few different ways we can go about it. Some last features that we want to highlight in Google Docs. In the tools, we have things like spelling and grammar. That's a new addition to Google Docs in the last couple months. We have the option of a dictionary, translating the entire document, so you can select what language you want it to go to, and it will automatically translate to that language. We can do voice typing, lots of really cool features in here. All right, so we have done the very quick overview of Google Docs. The final thing I definitely want to touch on, when we first get into the doc, there are only two things that are a different color. The icon for Google Docs, and then on the far right-hand side, we have the share button. The share button recently, the process for share recently took a small change. So when we click on that, it now looks like this. We can type in a specific person's name. So if I want to add Kim Gibson, one of our participants today, I can put in a message to her. Welcome to class. And I can choose how I want her to interact with the document. So right now she's an editor. I can make it where she can only view it, or she can be a commenter. And then when I'm all set, I can hit send, and she'll get an email inviting her to this. And you'll be able to collaborate. Up to 100 people can collaborate in a single document at the same time. That can get pretty crazy if you have that number of people. Slides works a little bit better for large groups of people. All right, so at this point, I'm going to head back to our slides for today and encourage you to do so too. And we have 2 different challenges, and we're going to spend about 5 minutes where you can pick one of these 2 challenges just to get started and to try things out. So on slide 11, we have our 2 different, or we have a couple different choices in here. We've been watching a lot of Star Wars in our family, in our house lately. My 7-year-old's gotten to be a really big fan. So we have 2 different challenges, a Padawan and a Jedi Knight challenge. Padawan's going to be more of a basic challenge. And if you click where it says distance learning, that's going to be the challenge for you. So in here, again, we're going to do that use template option. And we'll have a whole set of challenges on the left-hand side, and then you can respond on the right-hand side. And it's kind of a checklist. So, you know, moving from renaming the doc to defining a term, being able to use different text formatting, voice to text, and so forth. So that's one challenge. The other challenge is kind of building towards the ChoiceBoard and HyperDoc class that we have again in a couple days. So you can click on either of these templates and be able to just start messing around in one of those. Right now, it is 1:27. We're going to come back together at 1:32. Your goal for right now is not completion. Your goal for right now is to try out some of these different features and just get your toes wet a little bit. And if you at any point have a question, you can unmute and ask, and John, Eric, or myself will be able to help you out. Does that sound good to everyone? Awesome. Okay. So again, on slide 11, if you could go ahead, click on one of those 3 links and begin one of your challenges. Thank you. All right, we have about 2 more minutes to explore. If you still need the link, I dropped it into the group chat to be able to get directly to the slide that has all of our links on it. And again, we'll come back together in just a moment. Okay, so we're gonna bounce back. Again, if you clicked and made a copy of any of those 3, it will still be in your drive and you'll be able to continue working on it. And if you are in our choice board in HyperDoc, you'll have an opportunity to continue your work on those templates on, I think, tomorrow, whenever that one is taking place. All right, so continuing on 2 slides, we're going to, I do want to ask a few people to answer this question. What challenges did you overcome as you were working in Docs just now? And if someone, like maybe 2 people would like to unmute themselves and respond to that question, I think that'd be great right
Well, that was the first time that I actually made a table.
now. Oh, good.
Typing.
I missed that. If you'd like to say it again, that'd be great.
It was me not typing over the original template.
Okay, awesome. And let's hear maybe one more person.
That was the first time I actually translated the text.
And did it work pretty well for you?
Yeah, it literally translated the whole document, and I could have used this so many times.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a big feature that we leaned on pretty heavily back in mid-March when when everything changed, right? We use that all the time in my school. All right, so we're gonna keep moving to Google Slides. I am gonna mute everyone. We will come back together in just a couple minutes. Okay, so here we are in Slides, continuing on. And we have our video here again that you can go back to. And just as we did with Google Docs, we have the training website that you can go to as well. The main skills that we'll be looking at together is how to create a slide, how to edit, how to add different types of media, what the Explore function looks like, how to present, and so forth. So those are the different pieces we'll be touching on. Similar to how we created a new doc, we're going to do the same type of setup now for slides. If you're still in your doc, you also have the option of going up to where it says File. And at the top, you have the choice of New, and in here is Presentation. So you can either do it from Google Drive, you can do it from within the doc that you're already working with, and those would be probably the 2 easiest ways to create a new slide right now. This won't be too much of a shocker, but the first thing I would encourage you to do when you get to Google Slides is to give your presentation a name. So mine will be, wait for it, live demo. Okay, May 18. Later on, I can use that search feature in Drive to go find all my live demos and delete them all at once. So this is not a big concern for me that I'm just adding lots of stuff, makes it simple. When I'm ready to save the name, I just click anywhere else on the screen. You'll notice that it also changes the name on the tab of my web browser, and everything is now linked. Something I didn't talk about when we were in Docs, but anytime you make a change, even a single letter, it does save automatically. So you don't have to hit save anymore. I know that was a big shift for a lot of our folks when they began using these tools. So in here, I'm ready to give it a title. Again, this might be live demo, but I'm gonna do slides intro. You can do subtitles as you need to. Next, to add a new slide on the left-hand side, we can just click the plus sign and it will guess what type of slide we want, what type of layout. But if I click just to the right of that, I have my drop down and it comes up probably with like 11 different options in here, main styles that people use all the time. I like section, title, and description, but you can pick any of them that you want, and you can always go back and change them later. All right, so right now I have 2 slides in my slide deck, my title, and then I have my second one. And in here, you know, adding any text in here is pretty straightforward. I am gonna really spend time on the different types of things that we can insert and how we can do shapes and different things like that. And I know that I need to go pretty quickly because we do have a pretty tight deadline at the end of this. So I'm going to start off by going to where it says Insert and take a look at the different types of things that we can choose from. We already saw how to do image, and it's going to be pretty similar to Google Docs, so we can kind of skip that. If you want to add extra text boxes, you can do that. Then we get get into two types of media. We can insert an audio file, or we can insert video. Now, audio is very helpful, but for today's session, I'm gonna really focus on video because I feel like we'll use that more frequently. And YouTube is also owned by Google. It's another Google product, and it's built directly into Slides. So directly from here, I can type in any topic I want. So Google Slides. And it's going to do that YouTube search in here for me. I don't have to go anywhere else. Now you'll notice that some of these videos are very long. Like we have 20 minutes, 17 minutes, 18 minutes. I like 2-minute videos. I'm more likely to watch it. I recognize the source, GCF Learn Free is awesome. So I'm gonna select this and then insert. And all of a sudden I have my video, right? If I click on the corners, I can resize it in proportion. And you'll also notice that when you click and we have the 4 direction arrows, I get these red lines that tell me if it's centered, both vertically and horizontally. It makes it very easy for me to get it exactly where I want it to be. So right now I'm going to slide it over so that it is in line with the middle of this text box. And now I can have my title on one side and then my media on the other side. Makes it so easy. But there's a little bit more that we can do to really get the perfect video in here. So I can also start it at a certain point. So if I wanted to start at 13 seconds, I can do that. I can have it end a few seconds early, so maybe 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And now when our students watch this video, they're only seeing the part that I absolutely want them to see. All right, so heading back to our insert button, some other things that we can do shapes, and there are a lot of cool shapes in here. I can pick, I'll do this rounded rectangle, that's one I use all the time. And I can change its proportions. Once I have a shape in here, again, I can drag it from the middle, drag it from the sides. At the very top, you'll see that there's that circle. When I click on this, I can rotate it and it tells me how many degrees it's rotated. But I want to show you this cool little trick with our shapes. Any shape you add becomes a text box. So all I have to do is double click on it and I can start typing. And it's in here. And I can do a few other things too. So when it comes to shapes, again, I have some younger kiddos in my house. And I know that the international sign for, hey, cut this out, is to have it dotted, right, or dashed. So if I come in here and right next to where it says the font name, I have border dash. And in here, I can select that it looks like this. I can make it a little thicker. And so now, maybe if I'm making a digital poster, this part can stand out. It makes it very easy to differentiate that way. Some other things that I can add in here, I can do charts, I can do a table like what we just saw before. I do want to quickly demo what a diagram looks like because this is really cool. It's going to save you a lot of time. So for this, I'll add a new slide. I'll change the layout to just straight blank. And now if you could follow along and watch what I'm doing. So I'm going to insert diagram. And on the right-hand side, it's coming up with, well, here are some different types of diagrams that you might be interested in using. I can do a grid, I can do hierarchy, process, timeline, lots of different things. So in here, I want to do a timeline. When I click that, it comes up with a few aesthetics for what it can look like. Before I select one, I'm going to change it to 5 dates and adjust the color to green, my favorite color. And now when I click on this, it's going to insert this entire thing in there. And now all I have to do is go in and change the dates, add in my material, and I have a timeline in a very short amount of time that looks very professional. So again, that's one of my favorite things that we can do. Bouncing back to my shape that I made a little bit ago, we've already learned how to add, we've already learned the different ways that we can add a link to different materials, but it's in Slides, it's so cool because almost everything on our page can be a link. So right now I have this shape, and if I want that to be a link, all I have to do is go to my link icon and say what I want, where I want it to go. So I want this to go to google.com, apply, and now when someone clicks on this, it's going to take them to that page. So again, it can be text, it could be a picture or an image that I want. So here I'll find a photo. I'm a little nervous about what photo is going to pop up. All right, so this is my awesome wife. She's a 3rd grade teacher. So if she was making a digital card to her students, she has her picture in here. And just like we saw before, we can click the link icon and send them to a certain place. So maybe this will be nytimes.com for some reason, and apply. So now when someone clicks on it, it will take them there. Now, another fun little thing that we can do with images, and I think you'll really like this, is when we click just a single click on that image, we get this cool tool up here called the crop image. We're not going to mess with that right now. If you look just to the right of that is a drop-down arrow, and this becomes mask image. So we saw earlier how to add different shapes, but if I want her picture to be in a shape, maybe I want it to be a circle, I can do that. And so now Amy's picture is in a circle and it's still a link. So I can do all those different things in here. Very, very cool, easy to do. And again, if we're doing some digital posters or some different things along those lines, we can make any picture we want work that way. Now, continuing on, we're going to keep looking through here. We can change the background. We have different colors we can do. We can do a gradient. We can add an image in there if we want. The image is really nice to do if you don't want your kids to move. Maybe you have some text that you want them to read, but you don't want them to move it over. You can put the text as a background, and then it won't be shifted. Or if you want them to look at a picture of a map, you can make the map the background and they can't delete it. Makes it very easy that way. Continuing across, we get to, we've already looked at background. Layout is these different slide setups. Theme is next, and we have a lot of different themes that are already built by Google that you can incorporate directly. So I use Beach Day a fair amount. I use Coral quite a bit. And then finally Pop. Those are kind of the 3 that Google has made that I use on a consistent basis. And you can use any of them or you can start from scratch. And as we saw before, we have Share. Now, Slides does some really cool things when we get to Present. So I'm going to go ahead and click Present. And so I'm done editing, and it's time for me to model this for my students. And down towards the bottom, it's hard to see with this button, so let me move that up here. But at the bottom of my screen, we do have an option to do captions. So captions work live in Google Slides. I can talk, and it's going to put the text up there so that my kids can see it in the background. Hi, Miles. Talk to your mom about going on a bike ride, okay? All right, so we just had our first drop in. Miles, it's good to see him. All right, so captions makes it very simple to do that. And that's probably my favorite of the features within Present. All right, so that's kind of the big thing that I wanted to showcase when it came to how we use these different tools up here. We do have some other tools. So voice typing, as we saw with Docs, isn't going to put it onto the slide itself. It will put it as the speaker note, so you could use that too. You can do a dictionary and some other options as well. All right, so at this point, we're going to head back to our challenge slides, and I will put this link in our group chat as we did before. I do want to quickly showcase a resource that I recently stumbled on, and that's from Slides Mania. So on slide 15, we have a link to it. And this website is made by a teacher who is amazing. And she has provided, and her team have provided these different templates you can use for your classes. So here's one from last week about using Lego blocks to do math lessons that you can make a copy of this presentation and remix it. In here, they also have a choice board or a couple choice board versions. They have showcasing your graduates. My school is using that, but they have 21 different pages of school-related templates that you can use. Is there a question? All All right, so in here we have weekly planners, we have daily activity choice boards, all sorts of things. So if you need to stop paying attention to me in order to go take a look at this, I understand you're not hurting my feelings. I think that that's an awesome resource to get lost in. All right, so slide 16, we have, again, two different challenges, the Padawan and Jedi. On the left-hand side is a weekly check-in. So this is really looking at the social emotional side of teaching and how important that is right now. So again, on the left-hand side, weekly check-in, if you click on that option, it's going to pop in up here. And what I would do is give our students the link to this, where they would have, each of them would have a slide and be able to answer, what's my week like so far? What have I learned? And they can add pictures, text, and videos to help showcase those two responses. So again, if you would like to remix this theme or this slide, you can by going to the Use Template option. And the other option that we have is a cool little thing that has evolved over the last couple weeks. So if you click on it, this is called a Bitmoji Learning Space. And just as we did with the weekly check-in, you can use the template. This might be a little bit more ambitious. And in here, what does your classroom look like? What does it look like to learn right now? So you can add different links in here. You can add videos and resources in there, different ways to represent you. There is a video walkthrough on slide 2 of that resource. And then as you continue on, here's a blank template slide. Here's some more examples that you can look at, and then virtual classroom ones that you can start to build from if you'd like to. And all of these are in slides, and you would just add your content, add your resources on top. So again, we're gonna take about 5 minutes to explore. At any point, you can ask a question. So unmute your mic and ask your question, and we'll be quick to respond as well. So I'm gonna stop talking. I'm putting the link to these slides in the chat if John and Eric haven't already. And again, we'll come back together around 1:55 to review and talk through what you're able to do. Real quick, you don't need to follow along with this, but if you'd like to, John, one of our moderators, just had a really good idea that he wanted me to share. So if you're in your slides, and I know one of you asked a question about changing the margins in a doc, well, you can do that same type of thing in your slides. So if I go to File, and then towards the bottom, again, Page Setup, and here I can choose one of these 3 options, but what John's suggesting is going to Custom. And we can make this similar to a piece of paper. So if I want this to be 8.5 by 11, hit Apply, and it's going to switch it right now so that it looks more like a piece of paper that I could later print, or I can have it where it becomes like an interactive book, right? Where I can have the text on the right-hand side, maybe I have a video that goes along with that idea on the right-hand side, and it becomes a very interactive way to engage with different types of text. Thank you, John, for making me pause and making sure that I touch on that. Hear from a few of you about what challenges you overcame as you were going, or maybe you had an aha moment when it came to using Google Slides these last couple of minutes.
Adam, the diagrams opened up a whole new world for me to see those. And I don't know why I never clicked on it before, but the possibilities are endless now. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I use those pretty regularly. Love them. Maybe one or two more people who'd like to share?
Adam, can I ask a question?
Of course.
So I'm on the weekly check-in,
Mhm.
and how do you edit those?
Okay.
On the, like the certain, like I'm on the slide that you had, my week so far.
Okay. So did you click the use template button in the top right?
Ah, no, because your picture's in front of it.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, you can
Okay,
drag
sorry.
and move that down. No, you're good. So if you had, once you are ready to pass that out to your students, you would probably post it in Google Classroom where everybody can edit the same document. And then every student picks a different slide. They add their ideas in there, and it works pretty well.
Okay, I see it now. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Any other folks who'd like to ask a question or share out?
This is Janice Fabian. I'm sorry, my camera's not working, but I'm so excited. I teach elementary art, and this is like, oh, this is going to be so useful because how do you inspire children about art? Well, now I have so many more tools to do it virtually when I can't be with them. So I am so excited. I'm clapping my hands. Yay!
Awesome. Good, Janet. I'm glad it has energized you
Oh,
and you're really excited. I hope
thank
that your
you.
students,
Yep.
I know they'll have a great experience with it. All right.
Hello, Adam.
Go ahead. Was there one more?
Yes, Sylvia.
Okay. Hi, Sylvia.
What got me was when you were talking and the words were actually coming under the slide. That was great.
Good.
That was
Yeah.
my aha.
Thank you for sharing, Sylvia. So we're going to bounce back to our slides and move into kind of our wrap-up phase. So again, we have these challenges. If you are doing the HyperDoc and choice board, you will have more time to work on this one on the right. That will be an option in there too, or you can just work on it on your own. Absolutely fine. You have it moving forward. So as we wrap up, thank you for joining. As we've talked about before, you can reach out to me, adamseipel@gmail.com or @adamseipel if you're on Twitter. And I've been engaging with a couple of folks through both of those means. It's been really energizing the last couple of weeks. Continuing on, thank you to John Mitchum and Eric Johnston for your support and helping to facilitate and moderate during these times. Thank you so much. And thank you to Vassal for putting this on for free for our educators across the state. It's been really awesome opportunity to be able to work with everybody. Finally, on slide 21, there's a link to a feedback form. So you can head to bit.ly/Vasselback, VASCLBACK. Or if you have your slides pulled up, the top portion of this slide is all a link. So you can click on it and it'll take you to a short Google form. This is also where you'll get your renewal certificate if you so choose. Just a quick heads up, we have been running into a little bit of a, it's taking a little bit longer to receive those certificates than what it was a few weeks ago, just because we've been increasing the number of participants. So please be patient as you wait for those certificates. We do have about 10 minutes or so where if you would like to stick around after you do your feedback form and you have some questions you'd like to go over, we do have a little bit of time that we can do that. But thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this is helpful. I hope it energizes you and allows you to serve your students. Thank you so much for being with me today.
I have a question for you.
Yes, Linda.
So the use template button in the top corner, is that a new thing? Like I know before I used to change in the URL, I would change edit to copy and force kids to make a copy. Is the use template a new thing or have I just missed that?
So it definitely came around after the /copy became really popular. So if you change the ending of, let me make sure I'm